welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and your other host this week is from Lazy Gaming Guys, Julian. Welcome on, Julian.
Hello, everybody. The best of Lazy Gaming Guys is here once again.
That might be, you know what, this week it is true. It is true, absolutely. If this is your very first episode of the show, the way we format it is we go through this week's news, and then we end it with the Brocat Block, which is the more personal side of the show, what Julian and I have been up to since you last heard us. So let's jump right in and explore sector number 545. The Pokemon Company ended up getting into a little bit of heat here, as on TikTok, they posted and removed a bizarre expletive-filled video straight to their account. So the video shows Pikachu dancing around Lucario as a curse-filled version of "If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands" plays. So here's a clip of that going in. You can hear it right now.
If you're fucking happy and you motherfucking know it, clap your motherfucking hands. If you're fucking happy and you motherfucking know it, clap your motherfucking hands. If you're fucking happy and you motherfucking know it, and you really motherfucking want to motherfucking show it, if you're motherfucking happy and you motherfucking know it, clap your motherfucking hands.
So obviously there's some miscommunication here between this is specifically the Japanese Pokemon account, and they did not know what all the words were in there. They just recognized the theme, they recognized some of the words, and they threw it up. And there was a shit ton of cursing in that. There's more than an episode of South Park in that one song alone, and it was up, from what I understand, for a little while.
That's wild. This is why I don't peruse TikTok one very often. Also because it eats up last time I used TikTok, it ate up significant amounts of free time, and I didn't notice because I was just scrolling through looking at the same stupid shit over and over again. I did hear about that. I never got a chance to completely look at the full thing myself, because by the time I got around to hearing about it, most of the time it was like, deep web internet things, and as soon as you put it up, Nintendo tries to get rid of it, kind of deal. But it's like, really, this is clearly, it's like, wow, what a failure in communication between the languages.
I very quickly tried to pin this on Bobby, he's big on Pokemon, right? And I was like, you got to ban all Pokemon stuff now, Bobby. You got to get rid of it from your shop. I've seen him ban players for dropping just 2 F-bombs. That's it, just 2. And that was enough to get them in there, get them banned, and they were no longer welcomed at any of the stores. And now with Pokemon putting this kind of social media stuff up, kids are watching this. Kids are all over the TikTok. They've seen this, and now they've been exposed to, this is an adult show, so we can say motherfucker over and again. I mean, you heard it. It's up there. And I'm like, you know what? This is not a family-friendly brand. Not even the toxic-ass Yu-Gi-Oh! Has done this. So I'm just saying he should stop carrying the product and really send the message.
Seriously, are you insane? Just because the fools at the fools in social media who don't speak very good English decided to have a bit of an oopsie daisy doesn't mean that suddenly we have to ban Pokemon from children.
Hey man, in case you're missing the point, this is what happens when the immovable object meets the irresistible force, because this is one great love and one big standard that he holds coming at odds, right? Pokemon and then cursing. This is something that I'm like, really? I want to see. Really? I want to see the conflict within him.
The fact that he has a problem with cursing, he watches us.
Well, yeah,
gaming guys, we're explicit. He curses in our street. He curses in the street. He says, I think he said, I don't actually. I gotta look back at the stream chats. It's like, did he curse? Did he ever curse? I could have swore he did.
Yeah, usually, he does curse. To be fair, this is rules for his card shop only. So if customers do it. Now, my argument could be that what if a kid brought it up on his phone and he was searching TikTok on there, because it's Pokemon, it's fine. It's one of the things that he follows and sells and everything. And then what if someone brought that up in the store? Like, I don't know.
I guess it's time to go. I guess it's time to go, small child.
Oh, so it's the kid's fault now.
Grown adult. I'm gonna have to find the song now.
That one's on Pokemon.
just stand. You know, when I come to Florida, just stand in the middle, just go to a shop and blast out loud and see if he kicks me out or not.
Yeah, yeah, you could be like, "Hey, this was officially on the account. I mean, this is Pokemon content right here."
You know, he comes on my streams and trolls Scott and trolls and goads Scott into saying stupid things. So you know, it's like it's you know, it's fitting. I feel it's fair play.
We've got more Nintendo news here as they have recently sent out a round of emails encouraging Nintendo Switch owners to once again play Super Mario Odyssey. So fans are speculating that these hints are what are leading to what people think is going to eventually be the release of Super Mario Odyssey 2. And the reason they think that is because in the past, that's kind of what's led to these kinds of events. They'll hint at something strongly, and then shortly after, they release or announce a game related to all that push. So with all of those assets that they have in Super Mario Odyssey 2, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of surprised that they haven't already done a spin-off or a sequel using those same assets, kind of like they did before with Super Mario Galaxy, and then making another couple $1 million.
Super Mario Galaxy 2 is just Super Mario Galaxy with added on features. Mine will be Super Mario Galaxy Plus. You know, hopefully it's a 2 and not like them saying, "Oh, we're gonna come out with the DLC that you should have had like ages ago, where you showed where there's all these other areas on the map that they never showed off." Do you know Isle Delfino is in the bottom corner left? There's like in the bottom left corner of the map when you look.
I've never played Odyssey, no.
Yeah, and
We're talking about Galaxy.
Odyssey, there is Delfino Island, which is the main island for Super Mario Sunshine, is in the bottom corner.
Okay.
Never go anywhere near it. There's a couple other places that are on the map there are other bigger places on the map they show you, and it's like, why don't we go? It's like, is there more stuff going on? There's more places in this map, but they're not really going to. It's like they're gonna give us DLC, and then it's been what? How many? 5 years? 5 years and nothing. And so now this comes out. It's like, okay, so you're gonna come up with another game, or you're gonna give us some kind of weird extra expansion thing, which would be weird, but I don't know. I'm just looking forward to them actually coming out with something Mario related again.
Well, you've got them. I was going to say, you've got the movie right around the corner. I figured they would have come out with a mobile. Maybe they are, and I just haven't been paying attention. You would be able to tell me, and this is great reason why it's also always great to have members of Lazy Gaming Guys on, is at least release a mobile game that relates to the movie or is just Mario themed in general, to hand sell as well to kids, because it worked wonders with the Sonic movie when that came out. I forgot which game was out at the time, but it got a little bump in sales. And anytime they tie in something that releases with it, generally kids go to the movies, they see it, and they're like, oh, I now they're bitten by the bug, right? They want to play Mario. And yeah, they could pick up Odyssey, they can pick up some of the older stuff, Mario Kart even, but if they release a new game, they're then selling it again as well to Mario Odyssey fans.
I wouldn't be surprised if they came out with another release for more Mario Kart stages around the time when they open up the Super Nintendo World in California, because that's coming up. And then Lord knows they're gonna have a movie. They're gonna have some movie tie-in stuff going on out there. I know that I think it's Sonic Dash was out at the time.
Yeah,
it's the only mobile game I can think of off the top of my head that's Sonic related. I haven't kept up with Sonic mobile games, but this is but like if they come out with like more Odyssey stuff around this movie coming out, that'd be great. This is why I can't help but to think this might be some kind of DLC they've been working on. They haven't told us anything about, because it's the only thing that I can think of why they do something so soon. Because I'm still in denial of this, that Legend of Zelda is coming out this year. That Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out this year. I'm still in denial until even if they give you a date, it's like, no, I still don't believe you. It's gonna get pushed back. And if it does get pushed back, it's like if they do release some Super Mario Odyssey 2 this year or something, it's like, do you really want to vamp the sales of either game? I mean, most diehard Nintendo fans, they'll buy both, but they forget what kind of world we live in. It's like people are going to pick one or the other, and I'm going to be honest. I'm going to pick Mario. I think I might pick Mario over Zelda, because Mario is easy to pick up, get through, and freaking Breath of the Wild takes forever to do anything.
Yeah, that's been my problem with. I'm sure Breath of the Wild is an incredible game. It looks great, but that's the kind of game that as a parent, I can't not play the game for a week and then come back to it. It's not that kind of game. I feel like I would forget what quest I was doing, where I was going, the controls even. This is why, like, even the Lego games, I have an easy enough time picking that up and playing it, mainly because Leo wants to play it every day. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, I started that, and Bobby really discouraged me from playing it some more because he was having an awful time playing it. And I really liked the first one. But even while playing the second one, the menu is huge. All of the different things you can do throughout the world, and even just mounting your horse, like all of the different controls there are a lot more complex than they were in Red Dead Redemption 1. So if I would have tried to revisit that now, I would definitely have an extra hard time with it. And plus time is so limited as it is.
Mhm.
So
Also, it's also, not the game's fault. It's just Bobby sometimes bad at video games.
well,
I'm gonna just drag him on. I'm just gonna drag him right here.
apparently, but I'll give Bobby credit though. He's a lot better than Scott. Like Scott is, out of our circle of friends, the worst gamer because he always plays everything on easy. He talks about how he doesn't like competitive games like Call of Duty or playing Smash Brothers competitively. So something I've learned of Scott is that he's not great at video games, but he does love them.
Scott's good at certain kind of video games. I don't think he's like pretty much like all of us have hit the bug of, we're gonna play first person shooters. After a while, he fell out of it. I dabble in it from time to time. Jacques is confusing. Me and Scott play more of a wider variety of games. Jacques plays Jacques is like
Dark
a certain
Souls
level. It's like half the time it's not Dark Souls. It's some kind of weird rhythm game or something odd indie game thing that he got his hands on and that he loves. Jacques' tastes aren't as vocal as ours are. And like, especially for me, it's like my tastes are all over the place. I'm thinking about getting back into Destiny while also having to keep up with. So I'm gonna have to, great, another online game that has updates on top of the other online game that I have updates into, and I have to keep up with both of them. Wonderful. All the other games are going to be pick up and play only.
Well, what games would you say? What type of games would you say Scott is good at? Because I might have an answer for that too.
Pretty much, I know he's good at Pokemon. The boy literally goes through like 3 mons at the time, and then he doesn't really get a full team until near the end. And unlike me, who would sit there and want to keep that stuff, Scott's like, no, I'm just gonna keep powering through it. I don't care. He'll just power through with like whatever he has, and he's like, I have this. What do I need this? What do I need to do this? It's like, just power through it. I'll just do what I want. Where me, I'll sit there and waste like hours meticulously seeing what this team is and looking at what they're interesting enough, and they have interesting attacks, and it's like blah blah blah. It's like, I hate to admit this because I hate to admit it, but Scott is better at dealing with the Kingdom Hearts harder modes than I am.
Doesn't he look up the speedrunners and find their actual method and then just uses that?
Yeah, which is technically something that I've done in the past. I've done myself, but that's also by the time I've hit my point of I'm frustrated and I can't beat, and I'm going to either snap my controller in half or find out how to beat this, which is usually my method of playstyle. It's like, I'm going to keep going sometimes I just keep going until something pisses me off, and then I either stop playing the game entirely or just move on. While Scott's more casual and Jock is hardcore-ish, I'd say I'm more in the middle. I don't nag on either of them for their likes because they like to argue about it between each other constantly. It drives me insane. Literally having to be stuck in the middle between the both of them. Games need to be harder and stop holding people's hands, said Jacques. Scott's like, people should be able to enjoy any game they buy regardless of difficulty.
Yep, that sounds like both of them.
And I'm just like, I'm gonna go back to playing Final Fantasy and ignore both of you.
Well, I hope
where I get to do both, be casual and do hardcore things.
The next time you guys stream, I'm gonna try to get Jacques on one of his health streams, his health rants, and also I gotta say that I'm gonna still, you're being humble. You are still the king of Kingdom of Hearts to me, and I'm a witness to this. I know this, and you can lie all you want, or you can try to play humble all you want, but you're amazing at those games. Here's a game that people got a pretty big leak out of. So on 4chan, it was revealed that Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League from Rocksteady. There was a screenshot that looks like a Call of Duty Warzone matchmaking lobby. So this has made some gamers nervous about the DLC in the game, as they spotted a reference to a store, character cosmetics, and a battle pass along the top of the screen. According to Kotaku, a source involved in the game's development said the battle pass is for cosmetics only, and that the currencies referenced are solely for skill tree progression. Right now, the game is set to release on May 26th, but this sounds like the type of game, I think Gotham Knights played the same way, where you can play online with friends or with people, or the computer will take over the other characters. It sounds like it's that kind of game.
to be honest, that some of these kind of like two groups against each other, and they have to like do tasks or some bullshit, and then defeating each other. Yada yada. Blah blah. I'm not really a big fan of these things.
What do they
I'm
call
not
that
really a big
service
fan
for
of the
play or
battle,
something like
especially like the battle royale style.
Yeah.
It's like no. And then also, why is everybody surprised? Rockstar. It's like it's Rockstar. They have been
Rocksteady.
milking freaking. Rocksteady, sorry. Rocksteady, I'm sorry. Why is everybody surprised? It's like no, it's like these game companies are going to have some kind of monetary thing going on, especially when it's like people versus it's PvP involved. If it's like yes, there's PvE elements, but it's like which you can just buy the most likely people just buy that so they could speed through that, get better stuff for the PvP because everyone's gonna do it. Everyone does the same thing. It's not if the game does the game have a market, like little shop marketplace where you buy things bad. It's whether if it makes the online play, how it affects online play. If it's like people who have money get better stuff, it's get the much better items, while everybody else who doesn't have money has to sit there and waste their time grinding.
I'm not personally getting this game because again, gaming is not a luxury I can afford. I can enjoy these days, but I know for me when the Arkham City game came out and Arkham Knight, and I was working at GameStop at the time and picking up all these games, people were complaining about the skins and how if you pre-ordered the game here, you could only get that skin there. If you pre-ordered it here, then you could only get those skins. Then there was the season pass exclusive skins, and I remember hearing all of it. But me as a huge fan of the series, I didn't care because I remember playing Arkham Asylum, loving the hell out of it. And as soon as Arkham City was coming up, I pre-ordered the whole thing. I pre-ordered the deluxe edition of the game. I got the extra DLC, and my logic was, and I don't know if you handle it this way, and I'll ask you that right afterward. But I'm like, they've earned all this extra money because Arkham Asylum, I got more than my $60 worth, or I think it might have been $50 at the time. And then with Arkham City, if it's much larger than Arkham Asylum, it already looks like they've improved on a bunch of the aspects from the first game. They can have the extra money as me as a consumer saying, I want more of these things. I want the animated series skin. Yes, of course, I'll pay for it. So when it comes to DLC, do you look at it in that way as well? Or do you feel like some of these things, as you were saying, come off as milking the product rather than offering extra things for the players?
One of the game series that I so I'm into fighting games, right? And fighting games have plenty of DLC cosmetics, like a shit ton of them. So let's take two games that had the same, two games from two different companies that had the same thing. There was Soul Calibur 6 and Street Fighter 5. The biggest thing was Street Fighter 5 did feel like a complete game, and I did not feel, and literally having to dump large amounts of DLC into cosmetic things and all this other stuff did not feel earned. Hell, I can say the same thing for Tekken in Tekken 7 in the beginning of it. Tekken 7 and Street Fighter 5 did not feel like very good games in the beginning. Street Fighter 5 still didn't feel like a good game after most of its stuff got like released. Tekken 7, it's like, okay, it's released and it feels like a good game, but it's like we had to get to this point for you to release all this stuff, actual game and all this, and I had to wait for that and all the stuff to go on sale before I even touched it. So it's like, yeah, I enjoy what I have now, but if I had to pay full price for it, like a bunch of other fans, yes, I'd be pissed. But like Soul Calibur 6, it felt like a finished game before the DLC came out, and then the DLC stuff came out where they had the characters from Nier Automata and freaking some returning characters from other parts of the series. I said, okay, this is worth my money. I always say make a good game first, and if people want to monetarily spend money on the extra parts, that's on them. It's like no one's gonna. I'm not gonna tell someone not to spend money on DLC things for some of that stuff. But that's because it's like you're a fan enough, you're gonna buy more of the stuff. But unlike, say,
or even like Kingdom of Hearts, like you guys were obviously more than happy to buy in on something like that, right?
Yes, because the DLC was practically mandatory for the story. So if you're in it. But then
you said it was mandatory.
I was arguing this with Jacques the other day, who did not know the full details of it. Where he's like, "Oh, so I have to buy the DLC for the game to get the fixes?" I'm like, "No, you idiot! They put the hot fixes in before, they put the hot fixes in as downloads the same time the DLC came out. Literally, you could download. You still have to download the hot fixes. You have to download the hot fixes for the game
Sure.
first, and then you have access to the DLC. So all the stuff that they added, fixed some of the parts of the narrative that they wanted to put in the game before that wasn't part of the DLC. They put into it, and especially since like the critical mode is not something you have to buy. The critical mode for Kingdom Hearts 3, you can download that. You get that for free with the update. You can't access the super bosses without the DLC, but you could still get the full critical playthrough of what they intended in as for free, and then you get the extra DLC, which you could go through on the hardest difficulty, and then go through with the super bosses. Yes, we didn't have to pay for it in the beginning, but the last time we had decent super bosses was in Kingdom Hearts 2. We haven't had that many super bosses since. But like, I don't even think they planned on having these super boss fights in the first place. I feel like this was just something that they came up with as an afterthought, instead of something that was planned down the timeline. And if it was planned down the timeline, it wasn't shown in the actual game that they were going to be there.
Like I mentioned earlier, Rocksteady has a really good history of, at least for me, having valuable DLC for the dollar. So if I were in, I'd probably be in for the DLC and the game or the season pass as well, because they are, so far, they've been a very high quality gaming company, and they followed through with some excellent games as well. And I'm sure the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League will not be an exception to that. Over at the box office, someone is beating Marvel as Avatar: The Way of Water continues its winning streak at the box office, and it is now expected to pass Spider-Man No Way at Cinema's box office haul this week. So The Way of Water opened at more than $400 million globally, including $134.1 million in North America. It is now well over the $1 billion mark. I think it was at 1.36 last time I checked. And that's what's going to top out Spider-Man No Way at Cinema. And it hasn't been in theaters as long as that movie, and it's already going to top it. I mean, this is one of those things that an original IP from James Cameron is doing exceptionally well, even higher than the big bad Marvel, right? So this is why, even though I'm not an Avatar fan, I would say I'm not a hardcore, but I haven't seen the second one even. I don't know if I will, but I'm rooting for it because of what it means. It's not connected to this massive blockbuster company of the MCU. Yes, it's Disney's, and before that it was Fox, but it's not a property like Spider-Man that has existed for ages. It is, again, an original IP that's doing extremely well. It's probably filmed better than most of the, if not all, the MCU films. So yeah, it's a blockbuster movie, but good for it. It's not the giant franchise that it was prior to the first Avatar. It was an original idea, and now people are not tired of it. The people were saying 10 years later, no one's going to care about the sequel. Who remembers the characters' names even? Fern Gully ripoff. It's like, yeah, it is, but guess what? The general audience loved that shit, and they came out for it.
I blame the theme park.
you can only blame Avatar Land, man.
I blame Avatar Land. Avatar Land kept people thinking about it. It's like it kept it in the back of people's minds, because technically the entirety of that land is pretty much in between 1 and 2 in the first place.
Well, then all of China then must have come out to Florida and visited Avatar Land, because all of them came out to the box office for Avatar 2. I mean, you can't give it all credit to the theme park, man.
Oh no, I can't give I give it credit in the US. In China, that's a different beast entirely. But this is the same country that thought Tron Evolution was freaking like a masterpiece. So I have no idea what goes on through those people's heads.
Is that the second one, the 2.0 or whatever?
Yeah, the one with the main character from the first one's son and yada yada.
Yes,
blah, blah,
yes. Did that bomb? No, I thought that didn't do well, but did that do incredible in China?
It did a lot better in China, to the point where Disney's like, we should make a roller coaster out. We should make a roller coaster by Tron out there. And they did. And then they finally brought it to us like over a decade later. But I'm very happy that it's beating out Spider-Man No Way at Cinema. I'm going to keep this name because I like this, because I hate that movie.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah, because that movie angers me. That movie angered me because because I'm glad I did not pay for this movie. That was I had already not stopped giving it chances, but the fact that somebody literally said, I have a bootleg of it. Fine, it's a bootleg, and if I don't want to continue watching this, I can just leave the Discord chat and not continue. And then I stayed literally just sitting there taking notes of the entire movie. And as soon as we got done watching it, I ranted in front of them about every single thing that pissed me off about that movie, except for Andrew Garfield? James Garfield? I can't remember. One's the president, one's not. One's the president's name, one's the actor's name. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you know who I'm talking about. And Tobey Maguire, it's like, they're the best things about this movie. Too bad they're not in it as much as they should be.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it, and it doesn't look good. I've seen a lot of the... Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Good.
It's an MCU film.
It's not good, and they killed the MILF in it. Sorry, spoilers for people who watch your podcast and actually care. They killed MILF Aunt May, fuckers. I'm going to go see the Avatar movie on Friday.
Oh, good for you. Contribute to that box office, man. Your dollar may be the one that tops out No Way at Cinema.
I'll gladly tell everybody to go see this movie if it's going to beat it out. I don't know. To be honest, the only reason it made all that money is because of Tobey Maguire and freaking Andrew Garfield. If they, it's like, I'm sorry. Back in the day to freaking Amazing Spider-Man movies, I still am to this day a jaded Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about it. They're in one of the podcasts about the past of Spider-Man, and as well you should be, man. And I don't know if I got to rewind the tape, but I got to remember if you said you were going to go see No Way at Cinema or not.
Every time it's brought up, I mentioned to everybody, I've only seen it in bootleg form. It's not old. So I did not. It's not only did I see a stolen version of it. It's horrible quality too. So
I'm sure that didn't make a difference in the movie.
No, it did. No, it didn't. It would have been it's still a bad movie regardless.
No, I believe you. Although there's more of a chance of me seeing No Way at Cinema than the Pattinson movie. Like not much higher chance, but there's a higher chance of me watching that one.
I don't know. You could sit there, I can ask the person who has that digital bootleg to send it to me, and I can bring it to your house so we can sit there and freaking riff on it together.
Well, you know what? If you come over to my house with that version of the movie, I will happily watch whatever you bring.
Because I
haven't seen you in years, so I'll take it, whatever.
No. I haven't bought any of these MCU. I haven't bought any of these MCU Spider-Man movies because they've been doing terrible with it. The first one was boring and just a normal setup, and it wasn't even good for a Spider-Man setup. And then the second one pissed me off so much that it ruined my date. It ruined a date. And then the third one literally I didn't even pay for it. I just sat there and ranted about it like I had paid money to see it.
Well, there's another record breaker here on IMDb this time. While Dragon Ball Evolution has held steady with 2.5 stars out of 10 on the website for ages now, years, there is now a new champion with over 20,000 reviews. HBO Max's Warner Brothers Discovery's Velma is now sitting at a 1.4 stars out of 10. And these are all user ratings, but still, it just goes to show you. News of Season 2 came to light this week when the Entertainment Identifier Registry updated its entries. The catalog now lists Velma Season 2 as in the works on their HBO Max and Warner Brothers. So in spite of the big backlash, there is going to apparently be a Season 2. And it looks fucking terrible. What do you think about this? Do you think it's worse than Dragon Ball Evolution?
Yes. At least Dragon Ball Evolution sometimes makes you go, what? Huh? The fuck?
So it's more entertaining.
This one, it's like this one makes you just sit there and it's like, what does the fucking, I can't remember her name. No, I can't remember this woman's name for the top.
Mindy Kaling.
Mindy Kaling. What do you have against Scooby-Doo?
Interesting. So it's written in a malicious way, you're saying. So let's save that for the Brocat Block, because I also watched something on HBO Max. So we'll cover your spoiler thoughts when we get to that. But that kind of makes me want to watch Dragon Ball Evolution more, man. I'm not going to lie. I've never seen it, and I was never one of these that's hating on it without having seen it. It's just like, okay, I heard it wasn't any good, and I'm a Dragon Ball fan.
Go watch it. Watch it with beers. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I do want to check it out. Apparently it's streaming on Hulu, so
yeah, go watch it. Watch it. Drink a beer, have a drink, have a snack, do something anything that's going to distract you from paying attention to it, giving it your complete attention. This movie, because that movie's kind of like, wow, but like, it's way better than Velma. It's a way better way to spend your day instead of watching the 2 episodes that I've seen.
Well, maybe I'll end up liking it. Who knows? Something that also premiered on HBO Max is The Last of Us, It had such a large premiere that it crashed the streaming service as viewers tuned in on Sunday night for episode 1. So The Last of Us airs on HBO every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time and then goes up on HBO Max that same night. Bobby on our Discord was raving about it, talking about how great it was. I checked out, I haven't finished episode 1, but I will cover it on the Brocat block, but I gotta say, it's something about this Wednesday. I forgot what else I was watching, but I'm like, how are these production qualities better looking? They've got proper coloring. They've got good camera work. They got proper black shadowing, and they know how to use light, but then huge production, huge $200 million plus movies can't be filmed right. Like, it just still shocks me that places like Netflix or HBO Max have higher quality standards than some of these big studios. It shouldn't shock me, but it still does.
Wednesday is amazing though.
It's good, man. Did you like it?
It's really good. I'm thinking, it's gonna be some kind of like, it's gonna be some wacky, it's gonna be some wacky thing that's kind of dark. And it's not gonna be like try to be woke like certain shows try to be.
Well, that was one of the criticisms. They were saying that there weren't enough people of color in the show, and I'm like, there was plenty. Like, Wednesday's a Mexican. You got people of color that are like the one mermaid girl. She's black, and then we've got plenty of them in there.
Yeah. Also, like, it's Wednesday Addams. Race doesn't really matter to her. She's it's Wednesday. It's like, it's the Addams family. I feel like some people are just looking for negatives to bring up in it just to bring up negatives. It's like the mayor in the show is black, isn't he?
Yes, that's right.
No, wait, what am I saying? Isn't he? I know he is, but yeah, the mayor in the show is black. Fucking, why are y'all bitch? It's like, why are y'all bitching? It's a good show. I did not expect to I didn't know I was gonna like this, but I do. It's interesting. It's way better than fucking Velma.
Well, I'm glad that you personally were able to move over the fact that Wednesday is at the very least half Mexican, and you were able to look past that and enjoy the show still.
I swear to God, I'm gonna kick you. But The Last of Us, I know that I had a bunch of friends who tried to watch it. They couldn't. They had to wait till yesterday. They had to wait till like Monday or two. They had to wait till like Monday to watch it, and then they've been the people, especially one of my friends who's been actually played the game and loves them. He's like, this was great. It's like they even have an explanation for this, an explanation for that. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And it's like, you still haven't played it yet, have you, Julian? I'm like, no, no, because it's not for me. I'm not really into it. The weird mushroom zombies with
the clickers.
with their little holes in their heads, with the multiple holes in them. They kind of like give me this eerie phobia that comes to holes. I can't remember what tryptophobia I think it's called, and it's like, ugh, it makes my skin crawl, and I can't do it.
Well, that's good. The clickers are supposed to be creepy, right? They're supposed to scare you.
Yeah, but like, I'm not going to sit here and traumatize myself just so I can play a good game that has limited bullets.
Plus, you've enjoyed some holes in people's heads, haven't you?
That's like. It's one hole. They have one hole. That's it. I'm not sitting there doing it in the nose and the ear. Fucking, don't you dare. Fucking move on to the next topic.
All right, let's do so with Amazon news. So that's probably a good thing, right? That we cover Amazon on this show. We all know how I feel about that company. So after a massive redesign last year, that left readers searching for other digital platforms to read their funny books on, Amazon's Comixology is undergoing huge layoffs. So last Wednesday, the Amazon-owned company let go of a huge portion of the Comixology staff. Some former employees are guessing anywhere from 50 to 75% of the workforce. So the Comixology layoffs were part of a first round of larger Amazon cuts, which will eventually approximate to 18,000 lost jobs. So obviously I'm sad to hear about people that lost that job at Amazon, but I am happy to hear that Amazon is going through that struggle, because I'm of the belief that Amazon is way too big for it. I've worked in the brick and mortar industry for years, and I, up until a few years ago, I worked for a locally owned comic shop. And big bad Amazon, man, they were out there to try to get all these businesses, local businesses, and put them out. That includes places like my local comic shop to bigger places like your local Target They want to get those places out of there. They'd rather you order your groceries through them. Anything you might buy at any of those places, they're willing to take the losses on the product just so that you shop there. And that to me is a very shady practice. I don't like it. And I for one, I'm happy to see this struggle with Amazon.
Have you heard of, actually, I don't think Amazon was doing it, but there was one of the companies was like doing this thing where you just go into a store, you go into the store, pick up what you want, scan a thing, you don't even, you scan a thing when you go in the store, you scan your
Amazon.
phone when you go in the store, pick up whatever you want, then you leave.
Yep, that's the one.
It's like, without talking to a single soul, without talking or interacting with a single soul. It's like, ew, thank God, I can't, I shouldn't say that, but thank goodness COVID showed up to stop them from doing such a stupid practice, because that was something that literally I heard about in November before COVID started. It was like, what the fuck? It's like, no one's doing this. No one's doing this. But then, COVID started and people were doing that with just normal grocery stores, going in, just stealing whatever they want because they have masks and shit on. No one's, who are you going to identify? They can't tell what their face looks like.
Hey man, there were some bad things and some good things that came out of COVID. Obviously some terrible things too, but some good things as well.
Like the fact of COVID pretty much made it where all the video games are coming out this year now, and I'm gonna be more broke than I already was.
Well, you can talk about it here on the show, man. The things that make you broke.
But people who actually went to work for Amazon, to be delivery people and all this other stuff, and I said I'm not doing it, and now they're back to looking for jobs again, and this is fucking depressing.
I was never a fan of it. I know some people that use it, that take advantage of like the super sales that they have on there, but I cannot read graphic novels or comic books on my phone. I can't read it on a tablet. I can't read it on a desktop. I get access to the latest books digitally from IDW Boom Studios through the podcast. Like I can, because we have the show, there's a little portal that I can go in and there's like copies up there of digital books that I can read ahead of the release. But, and I did when I worked at the comic shop, certain books I would read ahead of time. I would grind it through, but I would not like it. I would not enjoy the reading experience. They would actually ruin it for me. I would then pick up the physical book and it'd be like a refresher, but it wouldn't be the same as experiencing that book for the first time, holding it in my hands. So I understand that I'm of the past. I get that a lot of kids especially are reading the Korean books or whatever that go up and down, that are made specifically. Yes,
webtoons.
The webtoons. And I get that. That's the future, fine. But for someone like me, and I don't know if the comic industry will transition into that kind of form in the future. And I know that DC has already come out with their own webtoons on there. But for someone like me, and I know for a massive majority of subscribers at the comic shop that at least were there when I was there, they're 40 plus years old. They're not going to transition over into comicsology. As soon as physical books are out, they're no longer reading. And I feel like that's going to be the case with a lot of them. So with comicsology going away, either another app will come up and take its place, or people will search out physical books again.
Yeah, and also, just because it's not as disgusting as it used to be in the 90s doesn't mean the speculator boom isn't still a thing.
Sure. Exactly.
Everybody wants their physical media that they can resell to people for obscene amounts of money. Freaking, I got into an argument with my brother about that the other day, where my nephew still had like his 2DS, and my brother's like, you should clean that up and try and get it. You should clean that up and try and see if you can sell it online. People are gonna want bank for that. I'm like, or you could just play your video game and enjoy it.
Well, also the whole part of, you can resell it, but if the company goes away or that service goes away, like Voodoo, or in this case, Comixology, I would lose all of my digital content on there. And I know on Voodoo, I have quite a bit that I've redeemed through the Blu-rays, but at the end of the day, I have the 4K, I have the Blu-ray, I have a couple of DVDs. Like I can pop those in and watch them without internet, without Voodoo. And that's at least that's the reason why I like to still have physical books, physical media, not just for the day that, oh no, I don't have internet, but I can always have access to these things. I don't have to stress about the service going away. I just have to stress about keeping that item in readable form or in playable form.
Yeah, I get that, especially for when it's like, also I just never really was into, like, it's like there are certain things that I don't, as a fan of Japanese media, there's some things I can't get away from digital wise. Like, of course, they rarely ever release every single manga that I'm freaking physical form, so I have to like sit there and do that, and especially with like, I even read some Korean webtoon stuff that I had to do the same thing for. But when it comes to like comic books, it's not like I don't feel it's not the same as me doing like as like freaking audiobooks where I could just kind of listen to it wherever because like who has the time to sit there and actually read words? Sometimes it's like some days I'm like working on something, I'm working on something. I'm trying to clean up the fucking mess that's my room, and it's like an audiobook keeps me from stopping and listening to something like a video would. Because sometimes I listen to like video essays on YouTube, and I just kind of I just put it on my phone, put the phone in my pocket, and listen. But I can't do that with comic books. I have to sit. It's like the experience of sitting down and reading those because it's like I have to digest what I'm looking at. Even on my and then doing some of these things on my phone, it's like I have a limited battery life or the constant random calls from Jacques and Scott or messages constant calls from Jacques and sometimes messages from Scott saying, Julian, look at the Disney thing. Julian, look at this Disney thing. Sometimes interrupt, pop up in the middle of it and like, grr. It's like maybe if I was reading this book, I could still read the book and read the message on the side. But I'm also one of those people who doesn't mind having multiple pieces of technology to do one thing. That just does one thing. And then the other technology just for one thing.
Well, continuing with some comic talk, in an interview with Popverse, Batman Damned artist Lee Bermejo revisited the bat penis controversy. He said, quote, "It did surprise me, yes. I honestly thought we had come so far in comics that we could treat something like Batman in the same way we look at Greek or Roman statues. In other words, as art. Plus, I didn't do it in an exploitive way. Ultimately, it taught me a few very important lessons. Namely to remember that it's still a comic about a guy in a silly costume and therefore will never be high art, and that the comic book business and larger companies are not there to allow you to do art. They are there to keep making sure the brand isn't damaged and they aren't beholden to the talent," end quote. So you heard about the bat penis controversy from 4 years ago, right?
I remember that. People getting up in arms about a flaccid dick on a screen, a flaccid dick on their books. It's like, really? I've seen like people make gay Batman stuff where it's like he's getting just destroyed by Superman and like all these other things. It's like fucking y'all are pansies. Y'all are pansies. It's like y'all have no idea how bad what some of these fan artists do to Batman. Give him like fucking 10-inch cocktail who's getting rained by Superman who's twice his size. It's like no. Y'all don't get it. Y'all don't know. Y'all straight boys need to calm the hell down.
Yeah, and I still remember Dan DiDio still holds to this. He was just on the show a couple months back, but he was talking about on other shows on how when he was seeing the preview pages for it, it was so dark on the page that he didn't even notice it. It got past editorial. He's like, I swear it was not on purpose. We didn't know. And whether or not you believe him, that's up to you. But he still sticks to that story years later, and he no longer works for DC. But he was like, that's a big reason that it was just overlooked. And even when you check out the book, it's like, okay, it's obvious if you're looking for it, but if you're just reading it, you might not notice it. But yeah, it's kind of like what Lee was saying of it's a huge thing for AT&T at the time, I think it was, of brand protection. And the same thing would be true if it were Disney or any of the other Warner Brothers Discovery today to have the bat penis out there. And I'm sure the controversy didn't help things because then the internet ran away with it. Comic shop people didn't care. I did not have a single customer that complained about it. Like, I can't get this for my kid. And the whole thing was a DC Black Label book. It wasn't made for kids. It was an adult line. But after the Batman Damned controversy came out, all of a sudden the DC Black Label book started getting a lot less adult and started getting a lot more teen plus. And that was my problem with it of, if we hadn't gotten that controversy, we might have gotten some very different DC Black Label books.
We wouldn't have gotten anything like horrible, like freaking. Because I think also around the same time, didn't they also have that issue with that one DC cartoon, that one DC Batman cartoon that had freaking like that was from the comic book where Batgirl got essentially implied raped or something.
You talking about The Killing Joke? That was a couple years before that.
I think it was a couple years before that, but I think like between that and the bat penis thing, I think they were like, "Well, we shouldn't do adult stories anymore." It's like, yeah, the first one is like maybe you shouldn't touch that one, but the second one, it's like, it's just a penis, you guys. There's fucking statues across the world that are covered in them. Hell, DeviantArt does, but when DeviantArt's doing better than you guys about this, there's a problem. Because pretty much in the high art world, it's considered, as long as it is flaccid and with the nude, as long as there's no intent of anything sexual in form or in shape or form, it's like, it's considered art. And it's like, okay, whatever. It's like, whatever. I'll just go back to reading my ridiculously horny art with no subtlety at all, and still call that art too. But that's because I am a woke individual. I say woke more of a disgusting, whatever you say, an individual who literally sex is no big deal as much as people think it is. Or seeing a genitalia is not a big deal. It's like shit, it's like you can cover yourself up, it's still dangling down there, dumbasses. But
don't forget too the Harley Quinn controversy over Batman eating out Catwoman, how the cartoon makers wanted to have a joke in there about that, and DC wouldn't allow it. There were someone at DC was quoted, I guess, as saying, "As heroes don't do that." And
did they not watch Batman the Animated Series with all that raw sexual tension that was that was coming from those two? I swear if they fucking, once again, I hate to bring this up, but fucking online porn people have literally it's there. Oh, we're just gonna exploit the hell out of it. Fucking go to town. Fucking Batman and Catwoman just going at it. And then it's like it's over. Catwoman's like, haha, I still stole this thing. Bye, Batman. He's like, ugh, she got away. While he pulls his pants back up and just flies off into the night. It's like, no. It's fucking, we all know, fucking, let's not be coy. It was there in the Batman movies. Fucking everybody just get over it.
And my favorite part about that too is when Zack Snyder posted up that fan art of Batman eating out Catwoman, and then DC put a copyright notice down on it. So we were all like, whoa, hold on a second. So is this official art? Like you guys just confirmed it.
They put a copyright. Yep. So they have officially, it's like, you used our copyrighted characters. Yeah, but I don't see you putting cease and desist on the rest of Twitter. It's like you just put a cease and desist on him because he's famous. So Chris Pratt put out, it's like, get it if Chris Pratt put out a picture of a fucking risque thing between Peach and Mario or something. It's like, because Nintendo has a children's brand to establish, but you're fucking DC Comics. You have people who have been known about sex for years at this point.
Yeah, and again, this stuff is not accessible as far as like Batman Damned. And same with the Harley Quinn show. It's blocked for ages under a certain amount on HBO Max. A sad lesson, I guess, from all of us, and also for Lee Bermejo. But it's true when you're dealing with something that is owned by a larger company, there's going to be huge restrictions on that over brand protection.
Now I just wish that when I came into your store back in that time, because that was back when I was going there yearly. You should have forced that down my throat and made me buy it.
I don't even know if it had come out by then, because you haven't been down in a while, man. It's been a while.
Well, no, because it was like 4 years. It was 4 years ago, wasn't it?
Was it 4 years ago? I don't know if we were out of it at that point, or who knows.
You must have been out of it. You must have been out of it, because it's like, I clearly should have had that. I clearly should have been told about. Should have had that, but most likely oh wait, no, I forgot. I'd already seen it. I had already seen it by then.
You like the bat penis?
It's like, it's there. It's like, I've seen Batman toys that have had noticeable bulges in them. But it's like, really? You think he'd be bigger?
So Batman, would you?
Oh hell yes, For years, I'd totally do. I'd totally have sex with Batman before. It's like Batman, then Green Lantern, the John version, the John Stewart version, and then there's a con line of characters, and then Superman's like maybe like 20th.
So top 20.
Yeah, but he's like at the bottom of it, like the 20th.
Well, I mean, that's still pretty good considering how many DC male characters there are.
Yeah, I'd do Blue Beetle if I do Batman.
Really, Blue Beetle?
Yeah, the white and the Mexican version. Well, when he gets old, when the Mexican version gets older.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not who likes the teenage versions. Gross.
Yeah, well, James Gunn certainly does. That's allegedly.
Any chance you can get, huh?
Oh yeah, and so does Adrian, who we have here his latest Patreon comment. Thank you, Adrian. He said, quote, "Well, I don't know if those reports are true about The Rock," and this is all referencing last week's episode. "If it is, it would confirm that his ego is really big, and that he had no intention of restoring the Snyderverse. Zaslav proved he is not a good boss when he allowed Pedo Gunn to be promoted, and he's allowed Berlanti to be promoted as well. How unfortunate, especially in light of Ruby Rose's reveal as to what happened to her during season 1 of Batwoman. And don't even get me started with Snake Johns. Regarding The Flush, this film should have been canceled years ago, with change after change with directors. I really wanted Rick Famuyiwa's The Flash. I hope Netflix pays attention to the fans and finds a way to make an agreement to get the rights to Zack Snyder's DC Universe. It's not impossible, end quote. Absolutely. I think that's the best chance we have to finishing Zack Snyder's Justice League with Netflix, and that's why it's more important than ever to get Rebel Moon and have it be as successful as ever. As RT Snyder Cut was saying on Twitter, make them regret firing Zack Snyder. And I didn't put it in the show notes, but it's perfect right here with Adrian's comment of Rebel Moon now has a release date of December of this year on Netflix. And that's Rebel Moon Part 1. Part 2 will probably get sometime next year, but we got a short trailer, a little teaser as part of Netflix's plans. It's up on Zack Snyder's Twitter, and it looks incredible. Just a little bit we saw, it looks like the Star Wars film that people have been wanting for decades, and we're going to get it with Rebel Moon.
For all that you love, show them no mercy.
What about my fan fiction between two Jedis who fall in love with each other, except they have to fight each other in the beginning?
we just got that, didn't we?
That's exactly what I'm complaining
Yeah.
about. I haven't fully finished the movie because everybody gave such a big stink. All the fan base put such a big stink about it. It's like, really, you surprised? It's the same. These are the same people who wrote Game of Thrones into the ground.
Yeah, I never saw episode 9, is it? Yeah. I didn't see that, but yeah, I heard a lot of backlash from Jared, for example, and people on Discord of just how terrible they maneuvered that final movie after the backlash to The Last Jedi. So I don't know.
Which didn't deserve its backlash in my honest opinion. Everybody's being overly salty and bitchy. But that's what the majority of Star Wars fan base have become after episodes 1, 2, and 3. It's like suddenly everybody's like, no, they don't know, George Lucas doesn't know what he's doing, and someone else comes in and it's like, they don't know, and it's like, oh, this is all right, I guess. It's like, it could be better. And then suddenly episode 8 happens and it's like, everyone's like, they could do, it's like, how dare they? George Lucas wouldn't have done this. It's like, you were just saying that he couldn't fucking write the series.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't know what they want, but when they get it, no matter how good or bad that Star Wars franchise would have been, there would have been unhappy Star Wars fans. And it's not the fault of the fan base at a whole, because I think it's exactly that explanation that I've heard of. There are so many generations of Star Wars fans now that you're appealing to very different opinions on what makes a good Star Wars film. Some grew up with the original trilogy, some with the prequel trilogy, and others now with the new trilogy. So they each have different standards.
Who mostly know about the know more about the freaking 3D cartoon show, the Cartoon Network, more than the rest of the series. And Scott now, freaking rants and raves about how good Rebels is, but he doesn't talk anything about the rest of the Star Wars universe.
Well, I was going to say, and now there's going to be a whole generation that grows up with just the Disney Plus Star Wars stuff, and that's going to be the stuff they like, the Mandalorian and Boba Fett, all of that stuff, and that's going to be their Star Wars. So it's yet another generation.
Did you say Boba Fett?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know what I said.
I'm going to add this to the list of names that you messed up on purpose.
Of course.
But feta cheese.
But Adrian, let me know what you thought of Rebel Moon when you saw the teaser on Netflix's account and also on Zack Snyder's, because it does look incredible, and I'm sure Adrian's as excited as I am for that film. And yes, I definitely would have loved to have seen Rick's version of The Flash, because Ray Fisher was involved. Cyborg would have helped out as far as the building of the cosmic treadmill or whatever they were going to use in that Flash film. And it was also what was going to eventually reboot the DC universe, from what I understand. And this would have been after Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. So there was already a plan in place of like, here's the story and here's how you can use the Flash to then let go of these characters or these actors from the contract and bring in other characters or other versions of Batman or Superman, whatever. Do Flashpoint, do the New 52. but but Warner Brothers panicked, and now we're getting a very weird Flash film this year.
They were going to actually use
looks bizarre.
they were going to actually use the treadmill that was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah, so it was going to be used in Zack Snyder's Justice League 2, and that's what that's what Batman sees in BVS when he's talking to him. And I don't know if they were calling a different concept the cosmic treadmill, or if they were actually going to build out the literal cosmic treadmill, but he would have been able to go back in time and talk to Bruce in the Batcave.
I'm sorry, just thinking about the fact of the Snyderverse having the concept of just the actual treadmill. It's ridiculous, but it does what it needs to.
Yeah,
it's like, you know what? Maybe they can do. You know what? Then it's like, look, everybody, Zack Snyder can be hilarious.
Yeah, and
he isn't.
Right. He's got plenty of great humor, even in Man of Steel. It's a subtle type of humor, but it's there, and people just choose to
people don't want
it or whatever.
People don't want subtlety. They want to laugh out loud till they spew soda on their nose, and the poor unfortunate movie theater attendant have to clean that up later.
Yeah, they need their humor spoon-fed, and they need the characters' tension to be broken with a joke or someone cracking something, just to not have it get too dark or too depressing or too sad. No, you need to levy it up a little bit. Keep it in the middle. That's what people like. They like safe. That's the truth, man. It's the truth. And that's all right for them. You know, I'm not judging them, but that's not what I'm into. So
not anymore, anyway.
Enjoy your exactly. Enjoy your MCU or whatever, but I'm looking elsewhere. I'm looking at Rebel Moon. That's what I'm looking forward to.
And they're not even good at. And they're not even. And, you know, after watching Moon Knight with my family the one time, I don't even think they do that very well either.
Well, there you go. I'll take your word for it.
It's like, maybe it's because you got rid of the character. Maybe it's because there was only one character in the entirety of that series who had an actor who could pull off the snark and actually pull off the snarky bits and actually be serious and not make it kind of hand-fisted. But then you kind of turned him into freaking. Well, then you kind of Johnny Deppified him with Pirates of the Caribbean, and to the point where it's like, instead of making a good character, you just kind of took that one aspect of the character and made it his only character and made him less important and made him less interesting.
Huge thanks again to you, Adrian, for your Patreon backing, support, and comments. If you too would like to support us on Patreon, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke. Let's head into the final portion of today's episode. It is the Broket Block. What's been going on with Julian and I this week, what we've been watching, playing, reading, what's been making us broke. So, Julian, you talked about how you got to check out Velma. Please go at it. Let us know what is good or bad about Velma and how much of it you've seen.
Velma, if you watch it, do not give HBO money. You bootleg this bitch, because they're getting the wrong idea of people from the views. It's like, they clearly are not going to pay attention to the fact that everybody on YouTube, everybody on Twitter, everybody on Reddit, Tumblr, even Facebook, shitting all over it. Okay, so let's see the biggest problem with this show. Scooby's not in it.
I heard there's a Scooby. You may not have gone as far, but there's a love interest for Shaggy, or whatever their version of Shaggy is, and they name her Scoob, or Scooby with an I.
Yeah, and Shaggy's not even called Shaggy in that. He's called freaking... Oh, what? It's like he's actually Shaggy's like original last name or something stupid. I can't remember.
Well, I heard they did that so that they didn't get accused of simply like race swapping Shaggy or something like that. Like, no, look, it's an original character. Yeah,
but you still gave him the green shirt, the pants.
Exactly.
Still gave him the green shirt, the pants. He drives the green shirt and the pants, and then it's like, and then you gave Melville. There we go, and you gave him his last name. It's like, just because you filed off a couple of the edges and switched it around doesn't mean that everybody's not going to assume that's who it is. And then the fact that the character himself is so hyper against fucking weed and all this stuff. It's like, yes, we all know it was implied that Shaggy was a pothead, but it's like, this show takes it to an extreme where it's like, Melville, do not care for weed. It's silly. It's dumb. It's not funny. It's like, oh my God, dude, chill. Wow. Who are you? It's like, if you're trying to make a character that is a parody and like make it seem like people who think that way are ridiculous, it's like, you're going too far. And then even if it's a commentary on Scooby-Doo, it makes it even worse. And then like they said, Scooby apparently is Scooby is a weird character because it's a talking dog. We don't want a talking dog in our absurd show where in the first 3 minutes of the show that we see cockroaches fucking.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, all right. We changed, but we so people are like, we don't want to do this because we don't want to make it like race change Shaggy, but you race change Velma into a South Asian woman. Why? Well, I don't know. Daphne's an adopted Asian woman between an adopted Asian girl who's adopted by two lesbians. The lesbians like, okay, that's great and all, but like she still has her orange hair, and you can barely tell she was Asian unless she spit it out to you in the show. She said that's all. I don't know she's Asian because they said it. Fred is somehow, instead of just being the boring Chad character who just comes up with stuff, and then and how Mystery Inc. actually fixed some of his character and actually made him like this weirdo obsessed with making traps and all this other stuff. They made him like some dude who tries to put up a front, but then he's like actually like a bitch who wants his daddy's approval constantly. It's like, okay.
Why is the show shitting on all the characters? Why is it doing that?
Because I don't know. The people who write this show apparently have this like want to like. It's how you adultify the Scooby-Doo characters by giving them some kind of flaw, by giving some of them flaws and some of them changing the characters, completely making it different. It's like, yeah, it's a show from the 60s that had like maybe a few racist connotations with some of the villains, but that's the most controversial thing about Scooby that come out of Scooby-Doo, in my opinion, honestly. But that's like because it's the 60s, it's Hanna-Barbera, and they're two white dudes that don't know any better.
Well, but even those characters had flaws, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's like from the fact of the What's New Scooby-Doo show, and like I said, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, how they kind of like breathe extra life into these characters, and to the point where it's like, also, why are you trying to change a show that literally it's like everybody has grown up with Scooby-Doo in some way, shape, or form that's lived in the West. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows you're not taking some obscure show here. You're not taking like, say, one of the Scooby-Doo clones, like fucking the Clue Club. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's another one of the fucking million Scooby-Doo clones they made after they found out Scooby-Doo made the money and stopped making shit like the Flintstones and Yogi Bear and decided to go with that. And taking something like that, or like the Funky Phantom, where it's like a freaking Patriot ghost that joins teenagers on adventures or something, and trying to subvert it. Or like, oh, actually, here's a good example: the Banana Splits, where they turned it into a Five Nights at Freddy's horror movie. It's like that's subverting something that didn't really have any popularity. But this is Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo has been a constant property in fucking people's lives for years. Warner Bros. Has been fucking milking Scooby-Doo for every chance they get. They use Scooby-Doo for something. They fucking had Scooby-Doo meet wrestlers, for God's sakes.
Yeah, Batman.
And they
wrestlers.
even tried to reboot the Scooby-Doo movies thing and have them the Scooby-Doo movies thing where they met like old 60 stars like Cher and shit, and fucking like old school Batman and Adam West Batman, and fucking they try to do that shit again. With like modern people and junk. Scooby-Doo is not some random intellectual property. It's a fucking staple of it's a staple of fucking media, of fucking pop culture media. And you want to sit here and just drive it into the ground with your bad takes and your awful jokes and your meta commentary about this and that. And it's like, it's so bad. It's like, this is the first time I've actually gotten a chance to fully like rant about it. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I could do it now because Lord knows the Larson Lazy Gaming guys aren't going to give a shit as much because I bet neither of them saw it.
No, I'm sure
to be honest with you,
some Burkheads are definitely loving this. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like whoever out there, it's like fucking comment on it. Send comment on it. Fucking, if you're in the Discord, freaking at me. I'm butt cam on the Discord. At me, tell me your experiences with how bad the show is, and then even for my Twitter plug that I'm gonna put on here, give me your feedback on how bad the show is, because I already know that plenty of other people don't like it, but I want to hear some personal experience of how the show pissed you off. If you found anything funny about it, whatever, because I am about to like fucking go out and start something to get this shit canceled at this point at the rate this is going, because this is bad. Because I grew up on Scooby-Doo and Hanna-Barbera cartoons. People, it's like other people have taken like random takes and stuff about it. It's like, where it's like, oh, look, look at this. This is dumb. It's like, fucking, if you're going to make a meta commentary on something, do it about Josie and the Pussycats or something, not fucking Scooby-Doo.
Well, and I don't know who the show is for because obviously they're not respecting the original characters. So it's not for people like you or I that grew up on the old cartoon, or even Leo when he's growing up on the old cartoons now. He watches the old cartoons on HBO Max and he loves them. But this is not going to be a show if he's anything like you and I of he's going to watch it 20 years later and go, "Oh, this is great. It reinvented the characters or whatever." And
Yeah.
so it's not for them, it's not for us, right? So then
No.
who is it for? Is it for the Adult Swim crowd? Is it for people that are into Morty and Rick? Like, let me ask you something. What kind of humor is this actually?
Okay.
What are they aiming at here?
So the humor I've seen from it, it feels like they're trying to go for like, in the first couple minutes, it's like there's a scene where like Daphne and all these other pretty girls are in the shower, right? And then they're like fucking like, don't you hate it when shows like freaking have like when they have a random shower scene where girls get objectified for no reason? It's like, yeah, I hate that. And then they go on to show like pixelated pictures of it was pixelated from what I've seen. Well, most likely, I don't know if they showed it or not, but like it's like just chicks' boobs. It's like a Kong line of fucking teenage girls' boobs, and it's like, look how funny it is. It's like no, and then like later on, Velma's arrested because they thought that she was like the murderer of one of the high school girls they found on a fucking locker, and then she's being interrogated by these two lesbian police officers, and then she's like, I thought lesbian police officers were supposed to be smart. Like that's the only good thing perpetuated by these cop shows. It's like, what? Who are you talking? What are we talking about? And then Shaggy shows up, and this is where I fucking just lost it. It's like, my name's Melville, fucking, it's like, blah, 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 but you know what? I hate drugs. It's something of that, because by the point he started talking, it's like the spiral of all the shit beforehand just spun into a storm of rage and confusion, to the point where the second episode, I can't remember what happened in it, because the first episode left me so angry, so confused, so just ready to go to whoever wrote the show and start stabbing necks just to get them, or to start slapping people, telling them this is not how you subvert Scooby-Doo. If you want to it's like, if you're going to subvert Scooby-Doo, fucking take what they had originally and make it ridiculous. Make it ridiculous. Like, if you're trying to make an Adult Swim show, make it where Scooby and Shaggy are in the show, but they're just so fucking baked that they're like, just like, whatever, man. That bullshit. Like, they can't even, like, it's like they see the ghost in front of them and they just can't even function. Here's a good example: the Harvey Birdman show that came on Adult Swim. They literally, Scooby and Shaggy got arrested in that for possession, right? And then like the attorney that's against them literally questions Velma, right? And it's like, what about this? It's like they literally show scenes out of context from the actual show where it looks like where it looks like all of them are fucking high as balls. Because it's like, okay, see, that's how you subvert some of those childish Scooby-Doo and make it more adult. You take shit out of context. Or like another episode of that where they had the Jetsons, where it's like, you know why they live in sky towers? Because there's mutants below. There's like evil sea mutants below that try to come up and get at them, and then they go back in time and sue the people of the past because they ruined the planet. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, but you don't see me saying, oh wow, this is mean spirited. No, it's funny because it's like, it's like, because even the show, it's like, we should take better care of the planet, and then they just don't give a shit, and then they still lose the fucking court case, and it's hilarious. It's like, it's like, but it's like, that's the Adult Swim comedy talking. Fucking, or like, make Velma like annoying to the point where everyone goes like, oh my god, it's like, it's not because she's a girl who's smart or anything. No, because that's what this show feels like it's trying to do sometimes. No, make Velma annoying because she can't keep her nose out of people's business. Or like, if you want to subvert Daphne, just have her be like unaware of what's going on and be like, I'm pretty, but not, and make Fred just like make Fred the typical Chad character who he's already a parody of himself by the time they got to by like the recent movies. He's like in the wrestling, like in the WrestleMania of Scooby-Doo movie, he's like the only fuddy-duddy who isn't into wrestling out of all of them. Or like the Kiss movie where he's not into Kiss either. He's just like, oh, I don't like Kiss's music. I listen to to the four ascots who are like this jokey tenor like bar quartet band. And the hilarious part is it's also sung by Kiss. But it's like that's subverting the character or making the character or taking the character and fleshing it out in some weird funny way. Not this bullshit that Velma does. And to this day, I still can't figure out who the show is for. Is it for the people who think Scooby-Doo is just like the worst possible thing oldest thing from television? Is that because I think there are people out there that are like this who just despise Scooby-Doo as a passion and think it's like it's old, it's dumb, it's not entertaining. That's what this is for. This is for those jaded idiots, those jaded Zoomer idiots who think Scooby-Doo is bad. That's what this is for.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Kelly is a huge Mindy Project fan. She likes the show a lot. And also Maceo, another host on here. They both like the Mindy Project, and they both were like, yeah, no, this doesn't look funny, so not going to watch it. So even though they're Mindy fans, it seems like the humor, writing, whatever it is very different than what they did enjoy out of the Mindy Project. And I kept trolling Kelly. I'm like, hey, your new Mindy show came out. And she's like, what, Velma? And I'm like, yeah, you got to watch it. And she's like, no.
No.
So she won't support it.
I've seen the Mindy Project. I'm like, I didn't really find like a whole ton of it funny, but it's like,
yeah, it's not for me.
It's like I get it. I get the people who think it's funny. I get people who think it's funny. It took me years to finally find it took me till like 4 years ago to find The Office funny. So, maybe I'll find it funny later on in my life. Right now, but it's like, but this, it's never going to be funny because it's like of its time, and it feels like it's trying to be woke, and it's failing.
Well, I'm definitely not going to hate watch it. I know some people were like, don't hate watch it. Don't give it numbers. If you really hate it, just don't watch it. And for me, it's not something that I'm mildly curious based on what you're saying, but it's like, is it really that terrible? But I'm also like, I rather watch The Last of Us, which I'm going to talk about now. That one, I will say I'm not I wouldn't call myself a fan of the game series at all. I've never played them. I've seen people play the game. My sister is a huge fan of The Last of Us, and so is my brother, and it's got its fan base. I sold the hell out of it at GameStop, the first one back when it came out. And good for the franchise. And in this case, obviously, there's a lot of hesitation from gamers, although I think they should get over this shit by this point of, another video game adaptation, watch out. And it's like, there's been plenty of good video game adaptations at this point. Like, let's get over that shit. This ended up being a good adaptation. I mean, just like Tomb Raider, just like Mortal Kombat, there's good adaptations, and this is another one. Now, I will say, as I've said, I've never played the games, but to me, it's just like Microsoft's Halo show. I've never played a Halo game. I love the franchise, but I've never played it. And when I watch the show, I'm like, the show's good. Like, I can enjoy it as a non-gamer of Halo. Kelly's dad watched the Halo show, and he loved it. And he's never played Halo. So I'm like, okay, for Uncharted, and this is what Bobby was telling me, he was like, one of the game creators worked on the show. He was on the writing team or something, helped out with the plot. And he's like, me as someone who's beaten the games, I liked it. And I'm like, okay, well, if it's a good show, it should stand on its own, whether or not you've played the games, right? So I will say I've seen half of it, and it is solid. It's well shot. It's well lit. Again, I've said that before. The acting is strong. The special effects are solid. So I'm excited to finish at least episode 1 and see where it goes from there. Do I like it as much as Paramount's Microsoft's Halo? No, not yet. But it is so far a winner. And I would say if you're locked into HBO Max for the year like I am, then why not check out The Last of Us? And it sounds like other people are enjoying it as well. And so far, I know Kelly was watching it and she was a little bit hooked on it, but she also said, if you want to watch it without me, that's fine. So she's not as invested as she was in Halo, but it is a very different type of show. It's about survival. And that's different than sci-fi, for example, which is, I felt Halo might have been a lot more appealing, I guess, to a wider audience, but The Last of Us is a lot more grim. It's a lot heavier, so it's not going to catch as many people, but it is a good show. I like House of the Dragons more as far as HBO's content, at least recently, but I would say Last of Us is pretty solid so far.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. For some people I know who never actually heard of The Last of Us and were like, oh, I'm gonna check out the show because my friend brother still to play the video game, and then someone's trying to watch it and they're like, I can't watch this because it's a disease, it's too triggering, it's reminds me of COVID stuff, it's too triggering.
Yeah. There's a lot of that in there. There's actually some negative vaccine stuff in there too.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, because that's what happened in the game. In the game, it's like it's just happened in the games. So it's like, oops. And so it's like if
Credit
so,
to
like,
them for not writing
to
that
those
out.
of you who have some bad memories of 20, who have like some bad 2020 memories, or had like some, or for most people had a psychotic breakdown being stuck in their houses all the time. So it's like it'll be kind of triggering to see that stuff again. But don't worry, it's not going to focus on it the entire time. There is a story that focuses on the character, and the characters that come, and the characters that show up on it, and their struggle through this through what everybody thought the pandemic was going to end up being if it kept going.
Right.
It's like everyone's like, oh no, we're gonna end up like Last of Us. Everyone's gonna be like Joel. Everyone's gonna end up like Joel and freaking having to beat down people with beat down other people with freaking shovels. It's like no, calm down. It's like society. It's not. We haven't had that level, or like the division level of outbreak where suddenly we have to shut down we have to close all New York off, and fucking gangs start. And random gangs start popping up out of the woodwork. It's like, no, we're not going to have that. Actually, that'd actually be interesting. Actually, be interesting to hear. And then suddenly it's like, oh, we have this hidden military force out there that's going to go in and fucking do everything. It's like, actually, a division show might not be that bad. Ubisoft, get on that. Ubisoft, get some good writers on that. Yeah, I gotta wait till I go back, because most likely what's gonna happen is, like with Velma, I was at my parents' house, and then suddenly my mom heard me just screaming, because they're the ones who have HBO Max, and the family's already like shared it too much to where I can't use it in my own house. Like I'm gonna go end up seeing that again, making sure to hopefully delete Velma off the watch history that I have, and then start trying to watch this show instead.
There you go, a solid recommendation on us, and that's another show like Wednesday that hasn't been accused of like overwokeness. Like Pedro Pascal is Chilean, and from what I understand, Joel is not Latino in the game, right?
No, I think he's just a white guy.
There it is.
He's
again.
just a scruffy looking white guy who could probably get it. Maybe.
Oh, you do Joel? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe it's like, he's not he wouldn't be my first video game pick. He wouldn't be my first video game pick. He's pretty low on that list, but it's like if he offered, and I'm like, you know what, we've been drinking for a little bit. It's like, okay, fine. It's like oh, okay, fine, because outside of the gruffness and the violence, you're still just a basic white. It's like, I don't feel like you'd be very interesting.
Well, I'll have a question for you after the end credits or end song shows up here. So hang on to that thought, but okay. I will just to finish my thought on that one is if it's a good show, it doesn't get accused of wokeness, but if it's a bad show, it gets blamed for the wokeness. That's what I've seen so far. And I'm not on either side necessarily, but it's just kind of a funny observation that it's like this easily could have been something. Same with Wednesday. If they were terrible shows, they would have been blamed for, well, she's half Mexican or he's Chilean.
They're trying to subvert the Addams. They're trying to overly subvert the Addams family.
Right. It's something like that would have been said of those shows. But Julian, huge thanks for helping out and being on the show this week. Please let them know about Lazy Gaming Guys, where they can find Lazy Gaming Guys, and where they can find you.
Yes, you can find us at the Lazy Gaming Guys on youtube.com/Lazy Gaming Guys. All one word. I think the Lazy Gaming and Guys are capitalized, but can't quote me on that. Most likely, if you search it up, you'll find it after you find the Lazy Game. Not the Lazy Gaming Guy. Lazy Gaming Guys with an S.
Yeah, that's some other. That's a ripoff person.
That's some other random random YouTube channel. It's already dead and hasn't updated in forever. We stream every Wednesday. We stream every Wednesday. Also, you can find our Twitter at youtube.com/Lazy Gaming Guys. You can also find me personally, who does most of the tweeting of Lazy Gaming Guys, let's be honest, on twitter.com/Kage0. You'll see it as either, I can't remember if it's by King Julian right now or just King Julian or some other way, shape, or form. You'll know where it is because the link's on the Lazy Gaming Guys Twitter as well. So you'll find me randomly being asked random questions of will I do this or will I do that on Daniel's Discord as well.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And there will be links to everywhere you can find Julian and Lazy Gaming Guys on the description of today's show. And also there's some sales going on this month for TeePublic. If you head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com, click on merch, and it will lead you to our TeePublic storefront. And on there, usually every other weekend, they will have a sale on $13 tees. They have mugs. They have long sleeve shirts. And our storefront itself has a bunch of designs that are on there, and some that are specific to the podcast, and some that are more about Swamp Thing, for example, or other things that you do enjoy, like Xbox. So make sure to check that out once again at thereasonsimbroke.com and click on merch. So huge thanks again to Julian and to you on the other side for tuning in. I've been Daniel, and Brocat Core, all will be well. All right, so I'm going to compare the older video game characters here and ask you, Julian, between Joel from Last of Us and Isaac from Dead Space 1, which one would you do?
Isaac.
Isaac, really? Tell me why, please.
I like the suit.
It's the suit, man. I got you.
I'm gonna be.
You
honest,
have to keep the suit on. Huh?
Yeah. He have. It's like okay. It's like suddenly he strips naked. It's like put the helmet back on. It's like what? Nope. Put the helmet back on. Put the helmet back on. It's like, why not? It's like it's hot. It's like I find it hotter that way.
Yeah, I know you have a thing for robots, so I can sort of. I'm starting to understand that one a little bit. Yeah.
It's not like your Optimus Prime or Megatron or something. It's fine. Not Starscream though. No one likes. Only fangirls of Transformers like Starscream. Starscream is a bitch. He's a bitch, and I don't like it. And I don't like that. I don't like him. Maybe the Transformers Armada version, who's actually like a interesting character, but other than that, no.
Remember when they youthified Isaac for Dead Space 2 and 3? It's like, what are you guys doing? They tried to turn him into this action hero. And I get that he was sort of, but he wasn't. In the first one, he was using tools and learning how to use them. And then it became mainstream and huge that I'm guessing EA went, yeah, let's make him more, I don't know, easier on the eyes or something. Like
that's exactly what it is. Like Activision's making money. We want to make Call of Duty money. We want to make Call of Duty money. That's why when the 2 came out, or was it 3? They added that half-assed fucking multiplayer mode.
That was 3, yeah.
3 added that half-assed multiplayer mode and the deals and the bad deals and then the bad DLC stuff in it. It was just ugh. Okay, so for 2 it didn't feel as bad. It didn't feel as bad with the jump to action, but I've also played Dino Crisis, which is it's used to be it's a Capcom property, which is essentially Resident Evil with dinosaurs. And I love this. The third game of that one was terrible too. But in the first game, it's like I have limited things. I have to kill dinosaurs with it. I have to either run or kill dinosaurs. In the second game, it's like, okay, no, the girl is stacked now. She had, it's like bang, 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 fucking miniguns, dinosaur dead. And then the third one, it takes place in space for some reason, and it's awful, and no one talks about it. They don't even, and no one ever references it. No one, even Capcom doesn't reference that one when they get a small chance to reference Dino Crisis stuff. It's bad. It was bad. It's bad. But like, it's like I get it. It's like he's more experienced. He's gonna have more guns. He's gonna obviously have more guns in Dead Space 2. But in 3, it's like we've gotten rid of the horror stuff. We're trying to turn it into Doom.
Yeah, and he's no more gray hair on him, or very little. He's got a hair dye. He's got a facelift. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
It's like
we like that it was this old crusty
future
guy.
Hair dye. I got my future Botox injections and all that good stuff, and earplugs. Freaking like I'm not gonna be like Sigourney Weaver, I'm like Sigourney Weaver in freaking Aliens Resurrection, where suddenly you look younger than you did in the previous movies, which is weird.